Ambassador Newland, thank you for being here today and for the briefing that you gave us yesterday. I think it's very clear listening to the members of this committee that there is strong bipartisan concern about what Russia might be thinking about with respect to Ukraine, and support on this committee and in the Senate for Ukraine and for doing everything we can to ensure that they remain a sovereign nation. Senator Portman and I offered an amendment to this year's NDAA in that vein to increase military assistance and raise the amount of assistance that could go to lethal weapons. Are there other things that you think we could be doing in this Congress that would further show support for Ukraine?
Thank you, Senator. I think the Congress and the American people in a bipartisan fashion have been enormously generous, as I mentioned in my opening, $450 million in lethal defensive support heretofore. You know, I think we need to continue to look at other things that the Ukrainians need in terms of cyber resilience, in terms of communications capability, in terms of educating the next generation, all these kinds of things. But we will not be shy about coming to you as we need support. And the bipartisan spirit here is really gratifying.
Thank you. Last week, Senator Johnson and I met with a number of members of parliament from Estonia, and one of the things that they talked about was the importance of European unity with respect to Ukraine, but they were also quite anxious that we reconsider whether or not to station more troops in the Baltic nations, something that I've also heard from Poland and some of the other Eastern European countries. Can you tell us if that's on the table for consideration as we're thinking about how to respond to what Putin is doing?
Yes, Senator. At the NATO ministerial last week, there was a commitment among allies that we needed more advice and more options from our NATO military authorities with regard to the consequences of any move by Russia deeper into Ukraine, and what that would mean for the eastern edge of the alliance, and what it would mean about our need to be more forward deployed in the east. And again, I think that was also a subject of conversation in this morning's phone call.
Belarus, now that it seems to be totally within Russia's control, also presents another front for the potential for Russia to invade Ukraine. Can you speak to whether we view what's happening in Belarus in that way? I know the Ukrainians view it that way because we heard that when we were in Halifax for the International Security Forum and met with some Ukrainian officials.
Well, as you know, Senator, the situation in Belarus is just tragic and really concerning in many, many ways, which is why the administration, along with the European Union in a multilateral way, increased sanctions just last week, including blocking the sale to us or to Europe of one of the great sources of Lukashenko's money, potash, et cetera, and sanctioned some dozens more Belarusians responsible for the violence and intimidation there, and particularly now for the weaponization of migrants, pushing, accepting them from third countries and then pushing them against the EU's border in a very cynical and dangerous way. But I think you're talking about the potential as Lukashenko becomes more and more dependent on the Kremlin and gives up more and more of Belarus's sovereignty, something that he told his people he would never do, that Russia could actually use Belarusian territory to march on Ukraine and or mask its forces as Belarusian forces. All of those are both things that we are watching, and it was particularly concerning to see President Lukashenko make a change in his own posture with regard to Crimea. He had long declined to recognize Russia's claim on Crimea, but he changed tack a week ago, which is concerning.
Very much. I'm out of time, but I just wanted to raise an issue you brought up in your opening remarks with respect to the effort to confirm our ambassadors and State Department officials and the effect it's having currently of hamstringing our foreign policy efforts around the world. And I know this committee has worked very hard in a bipartisan way to try and move those appointments, but they are being held up on the floor by a small group of Republican colleagues who have other issues, who don't want us to move forward. And I hope that you will share with everybody on this committee and those holding up those appointments what that means to our diplomacy and our foreign policy when we can't get our people in place to protect American interests.
Thank you for that, Senator, and thank you for how stalwart you've been on this subject. As I said in my opening, we are on the field at quarter power, as our adversaries and as the autocrats are on the field at full power and, frankly, on the march. We need all of our assistant secretaries confirmed in the department. We still have, I think, less than 10 confirmed, and we need all of our ambassadors out at the field. As good as our charges are, it's not the same as having been the president's choice and to have the advice and consent in a bipartisan way of this Senate. So 85 of our best, political and career, awaiting floor action, and think about the message that that sends to Russia and China. Thank you.